The air inside Brewhaven's Seattle flagship buzzed with the chaos of a mid-morning rush. The rich aroma of freshly brewed coffee curled through the space, mingling with the sweet tang of caramel syrup and the faint hum of a jazz playlist buried beneath the clamor. Customers jostled in line, their voices weaving into a tapestry of orders and chatter, while baristas darted behind the counter, steaming milk and grinding beans in a relentless dance. Sunlight streamed through tall windows, glinting off polished wooden tables and the neon sign glowing above the door. Nathan Brooks, a 42-year-old CEO with sharp eyes and a quiet intensity, stepped through that door, but not as the man who built Brewhaven into a national chain. Today, he was just another face in the crowd, his tailored suit swapped for a plain gray hoodie and jeans, his presence unremarkable to the untrained eye. Nathan wasn't here for coffee. He was here to see if the values he'd poured into Brew, Haven equality, respect, exceptional service, still held firm. The chain had grown from a single shop in his diverse hometown to a household name, but success had bred distance. Reports of slipping standards gnawed at him, whispers of a culture drifting from his vision. He'd seen it before, growing up in a neighborhood where fairness was a luxury, not a given. A friend, rejected for a job because of his skin color, had sparked Nathan's drive to build a business where everyone belonged. Now, he needed to know, was Brewhaven still that place? Adjusting his baseball cap, he joined the line, his heart a mix of hope and dread. The counter was a flurry of motion, but one figure stood out. Brittany Cole, a blonde barista with a sharp jaw and a name tag pinned crookedly, leaned against the register, scrolling through her phone. Her green eyes flicked up occasionally, scanning the line with disinterest. Customers shifted impatiently, their murmurs growing as the wait stretched. Nathan watched, his jaw tightening. He trained his staff to treat every customer like family, but Brittany's indifference was a crack in that foundation. When his turn came, he stepped forward, his voice warm but firm. "Excuse me, could I get a medium latte, please?" Brittany barely looked up, her fingers still tapping her screen. With a dramatic sigh, she muttered, "I'm busy. Wait like everyone else." Her tone was sharp, dismissive, slicing through the hum of the shop. Nathan blinked, stunned but composed, and stepped back into line. The woman behind him, a young professional in a navy blazer, muttered under her breath, "Unbelievable." Nathan's eyes stayed on Brittany, his mind racing. Was this a bad day or something worse? As he waited, a Z pattern emerged. Brittany snapped to attention when a man in a tailored suit, his watch glinting, approached the counter. "Hey, good to see you," she chirped, her smile bright as she punched in his order with exaggerated care. The man, clearly a regular, chatted with her, oblivious to the line snaking behind him. But when a black woman, Maya, stepped up next, Brittany's smile vanished. "What do you want?" she asked, her voice flat, her hands already moving to the next task. Maya hesitated, then ordered a cappuccino, her tone polite but guarded. Brittany slid the cup across the counter without a word, her eyes already elsewhere. Nathan's stomach twisted. This wasn't just rudeness. It was deliberate, a line drawn in the sand. Near a corner table, an older woman named Margaret sipped her tea, her gray curls catching the light. A regular, she often lingered, chatting with Jaden Carter, a young barista who worked the espresso machine with quiet efficiency. Margaret's eyes followed Brittany, her lips pursing. She'd seen this before: customers dismissed, ignored, or worse, based on nothing but appearance. Jaden, wiping down the machine, caught her gaze and gave a small, knowing nod. He felt it too, but speaking up was a risk he wasn't ready to take. Not yet. Nathan's turn came again. He stepped forward, his voice steady. "I'll try that latte again." Brittany crossed her arms, her eyes narrowing. "We're out," she said, though Nathan had just seen her pour one for the man in the suit. He tilted his head, his tone calm but pointed. "Are you sure? I saw you make one a minute ago." Brittany's jaw tightened, her voice sharp. "Try another store." The words landed like a slap, and the room seemed to quiet, eyes turning to the exchange. Nathan nodded, his expression unreadable, and walked out, the glass doors swinging shut behind him. Outside, the Seattle air was crisp, the city's pulse humming around him. Nathan leaned against a street lamp, his mind a storm of disbelief and resolve. This wasn't just poor service. It was a betrayal of everything Brewhaven stood for. He thought of Maya's guarded expression, of Margaret's quiet disapproval, of Jaden's hesitation. How many others had felt this sting? How deep did this rot go? One thing was certain. He'd seen enough to act. As he pulled out his phone, dialing his assistant to pull customer complaints, a fire kindled in his chest. This wasn't the end of the story. It was the beginning. The glass doors of Brewhaven swung shut behind Nathan Brooks, the Seattle street humming with the pulse of a city waking up. The cool morning air did little to soothe the fire in his chest. He'd walked into his flagship coffee shop, expecting to see his vision of equality and respect in action. But what he found was a betrayal of barista, Brittany Cole, whose indifference and bias tainted everything Brewhaven stood for. A sharp dismissal, "Try another store," echoed in his mind, not just for its rudeness, but for the pattern it revealed. Nathan leaned against a brick wall, his gray hoodie blending into the crowd, his sharp eyes scanning the neon sign. Above the shop, he wasn't just a customer stung by poor service. He was the CEO, and this was personal. Inside, the shop thrummed with the morning rush. The rich scent of espresso curled through the air, mingling with the clatter of cups and the hiss of steam wands. Customers shuffled in line, some tapping their phones, others exchanging tired smiles. Brittany stood behind the counter, her blonde hair catching the fluorescent light, her name tag glinting as she moved. Nathan lingered near the window, unnoticed, his baseball cap low as he watched her work. He needed to be sure this wasn't a one-off, a bad moment on a bad day. His years building Brewhaven had taught him to trust his instincts, but also to verify. If Brittany's behavior was a pattern, it wasn't just her, it was a failure of the culture he'd tried to create. The line moved slowly, Brittany's attention sporadic. She flashed a bright smile at a white couple in their 30s, chatting about their weekend plans as she punched in their order with care. "Extra foam, right?" "I got you," she said, her voice warm, almost playful. The couple laughed, sliding a tip into the jar. But when a black man in a delivery uniform stepped up, her demeanor shifted like a switch flipped. Her smile vanished, her eyes barely meeting his. "What do you need?" she asked, her tone flat, her hands already reaching for the next cup. The man ordered a black coffee, his voice polite but clipped, as if he sensed the shift. Brittany slid the cup across the counter without a word, turning away before he could respond. Nathan's jaw tightened, his fingers curling into fists in his pockets. It was unmistakable now bias, plain and deliberate. Maya, the young woman Nathan had noticed earlier, returned to the line, her navy blazer slightly wrinkled from a long morning. She'd left after Brittany's cold dismissal, but now she was back, her expression guarded but determined. Nathan watched as she approached the counter, her voice steady. "Can I get a cappuccino, please?" Brittany's eyes flicked up, her lips pursing. "Sure," she said. The word clipped, her hands moving with mechanical efficiency. The cappuccino was ready in record time, but the cup was shoved across the counter, foam sloshing over the rim. Maya's shoulders stiffened, her fingers tightening around the cup as she turned away, her face a mask of quiet hurt. Nathan's heart sank. He knew that look, the sting of being made to feel less than Dot at a corner table. Margaret, the older regular, sipped her tea, her gray curls catching the light. She'd seen it all the way Brittany lit up for some customers and dimmed for others. Her hands wrapped around her cup, her lips pursed in disapproval. Jaden Carter, the young barista working the espresso machine, caught her gaze as he wiped down the counter. His dark eyes flickered with frustration, but he kept his head down, his movements precise. Jaden had dreams of owning his own shop someday, inspired by Brewhaven's promise of fairness, but Brittany's behavior was a daily reminder of how far the shop had strayed. Speaking up meant risking his job, and with rent due, he couldn't afford that. Not yet. Margaret gave him a small, encouraging nod, as if to say, "I see it too." Nathan's mind raced, memories flooding back. He was 16, watching his best friend, Marcus, turned away from a diner because they didn't serve his kind. The anger, the helplessness, it had fueled Nathan's drive to build Brewhaven, a place where no one would feel that sting. Now, standing outside his own shop, he felt that same helplessness creeping in. How many Mayas had walked away hurt? How many Jadens stayed silent, trapped by fear? He pulled out his phone, his voice low as he called his assistant, Claire. "Pull every customer complaint from the Seattle location," he said, his tone steady, but urgent. "Focus on service issues, anything mentioning a blonde barista. I need it by tonight." Claire's voice crackled through the line, efficient as always. "On it? Anything else?" Nathan hesitated, glancing back at the shop. "Yeah," he said. "Get me the manager's contact info. Lauren Hayes. We need to talk." He hung up, his eyes fixed on the neon sign. Brittany's behavior wasn't just a personal failing. It was a symptom of something deeper, a culture that had slipped while he wasn't looking. He thought of his friend Marcus, now a teacher, who told him years ago, "You can't fix the world, but you can fix your corner of it." This was Nathan's corner, and he'd be damned if he let it fall apart as he walked away. The city's hum enveloped him, cars honking, pedestrians rushing past. But Nathan's focus was razor-sharp. He'd seen enough to know this wasn't over. Brittany's bias, the shop's fractured culture, it was a problem he could fix, but it would take more than a single visit. He needed evidence, allies, a plan. The fire in his chest burned brighter, fueled by the faces he'd seen, Maya, Jaden, Margaret. This was about them, about every customer who deserved better. Nathan Brooks wasn't just a CEO anymore. He was a man on a mission, and he was just getting started. The sleek glass walls of Brewhaven's headquarters reflected Seattle's skyline, a patchwork of clouds and steel under a gray afternoon sky. Inside, Nathan Brooks sat at a polished oak desk, the hum of the city muffled by soundproof windows. His gray hoodie was gone, replaced by a crisp white shirt, sleeves rolled to his elbows. Papers and a laptop cluttered the desk, glowing with customer complaints from the Seattle flagship store. The words he'd seen on Brittany Cole's lips, "Try another store," burned in his mind. But it was her cold dismissal of Maya, the guarded hurt in the young woman's eyes, that fueled his urgency. Nathan wasn't just a CEO protecting his brand. He was a man confronting a betrayal of the values he'd built Brewhaven upon. Equality, respect, community, those weren't just slogans. They were promises, and they were breaking. The complaints painted a grim picture. "Rude blonde barista ignored me," one read. "Felt unwelcome because of my race," said another, the words cutting deeper with each line. Many mentioned a blonde employee, a clear thread leading to Brittany. Nathan's jaw tightened, his fingers tapping the desk as he cross-referenced employee records. Brittany Cole, 2 years at Brewhaven, high sales numbers, but a string of informal complaints never escalated. Why? His eyes narrowed on the managers. Name, Lauren Hayes. If Brittany was the spark, Lauren was the one who'd let the fire spread. Nathan needed answers, and he needed them now. He leaned back, the leather chair creaking softly, and thought of his childhood friend Marcus. whose dreams had been crushed by a world that judged him before he could speak. That pain had driven Nathan to create Brewhaven, a place where no one would feel less than. But the complaints on his desk told him he'd failed, not entirely, but enough to hurt. He glanced at his phone, where a new notification pinged. A social media post from Maya, tagged with #Brewhaven. Ordered a coffee, got treated like I didn't belong. Do better. The post was gaining traction. Comments piling up, some angry, others defensive. Nathan's stomach churned. This wasn't just a store issue anymore. It was a public wound, and if he didn't act fast, it could scar Brewhaven's reputation. He dialed Claire, his assistant, her voice crisp through the speaker. Claire, set up a video call with Lauren Hayes. Now. Claire didn't hesitate. On it? Anything else? Nathan's eyes flicked to the laptop. Keep monitoring that social media post. I want to know how far it spreads. He hung up, his mind racing. Maya's post was a flare, signaling a deeper problem. He needed to understand Lauren's role, why she'd let Brittany's behavior fester, why complaints had been buried. The video call connected, Lauren's face appearing on the screen. She was in her early 30s, her dark hair pulled into a messy bun, her eyes darting nervously. The Brewhaven office behind her was cluttered, a stark contrast to Nathan's sleek setup. "Mr. Brooks," she said, her voice tight with unease. "What's this about?" Nathan leaned forward, his tone calm but unyielding. "I visited your store yesterday, Lauren. Undercover. I saw things that don't align with Brewhaven's values. I need to know why." Lauren's face paled, her hands fidgeting with a pen. What did you see?" she asked, though her tone suggested she already knew. "Brittany Cole," Nathan said, his voice steady. "She ignored customers. Dismissed them based on appearance. I saw it myself, and the complaints back it up. Why hasn't this been addressed?" Lauren swallowed, her eyes dropping. "I've noticed Brittany's attitude," she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. "She's selective with customers, but she's popular with some staff. If I called her out, it'd cause tension. I didn't want to make things worse." Nathan's jaw clenched, but he kept his voice even. "Worse than customers feeling unwelcome? Worse than discrimination in my store?" Lauren flinched, her fingers tightening around the pen. "I know I should have done more," she said, her voice trembling. "But Brittany's got a following, some employees back her up, like Tara. I was afraid of splitting the team." Nathan leaned back, processing her words. Tara, another name to investigate. Lauren's hesitation wasn't malice. It was weakness. A failure to lead. But there was something in her eyes, a flicker of regret, that gave him pause. "Lauren," he said, his tone softer but firm, "your job is to uphold our values, not avoid conflict. I'm giving you a chance to fix this. But I need the truth. Has Brittany done this before?" Lauren nodded slowly, her voice steadier now. "Yes, customers have complained, mostly people of color. I logged some, but I didn't escalate them. I thought it'd blow over." Nathan's chest tightened, anger mixing with disappointment. "It didn't blow over," he said. "It's spreading online. Check social media. This is bigger than you think." Lauren's eyes widened, her hands fumbling for her phone. Nathan ended the call, his mind already shifting to the next steps. Lauren's fear of confrontation had let Brittany's bias fester, but her honesty offered a chance for redemption. He needed more evidence, and he needed to act before Maya's post turned into a firestorm. He texted Claire, "Pull employee schedules. I want to know who's close to Brittany, especially Tara." Claire's reply was instant. "Done. You planning a return visit?" Nathan's lips curved into a grim smile. Soon back in the shop, Jaden Carr steamed milk, his movements precise, but his mind elsewhere. He'd seen Maya's post, the comments piling up. He wanted to speak out, to tell Nathan what he knew about Brittany and Tara's clique, but the risk loomed large. Margaret, sipping her tea at her usual table, caught his eye. "You're better than this place sometimes," she said softly, her words a quiet push. Jaden nodded, his resolve flickering. He didn't know Nathan was watching, but he felt the weight of a moment coming. Nathan stood, the city skyline stretching before him. The complaints, Maya's post, Lauren's confession, they were pieces of a puzzle he was determined to solve. Brewhaven was his corner of the world, and he'd fix it, no matter the cost. The Seattle skyline glowed faintly through the floor-to-ceiling windows of Brewhaven's headquarters, the city's lights flickering against the darkening sky. Nathan Brooks stood at the head of a polished conference table, his crisp white shirt slightly rumpled, his sharp eyes scanning a stack of customer complaints and employee schedules. The air carried the faint scent of coffee from a machine in the corner, but the room buzzed with a different energy, resolve, urgency, and the weight of a decision that could reshape his company. Brittany Cole's discriminatory behavior, confirmed by complaints and Nathan's own eyes, was a wound in Brewhaven's heart. Lauren Hayes' failure to act had let it fester. Now, Nathan was ready to cut it out. The confrontation with Brittany would happen tomorrow. Not in private, but in front of the staff, a public stand to show Brewhaven's values weren't negotiable. Nathan's assistant, Claire, sat across from him, her laptop open, her fingers flying as she pulled data. "I've got the schedules," she said, her voice crisp. "Brittany's on the morning shift with Tara and Jaden. Lauren's there too. You want the whole team present?" Nathan nodded, his jaw tight. "Everyone," he said. "This isn't just about Brittany. It's about the culture." Claire's eyes flicked up, a faint smile tugging at her lips. "Bold move. You sure? You want to record it? Could be a PR nightmare if it backfires." Nathan's lips curved into a grim smile. Claire's idea to record the meeting was a gamble, but transparency was the only way to rebuild trust. "Record it," he said. "If we're going to fix this, we do it in the open." Claire nodded, typing a note. "I'll set up a discreet camera. Anything else?" Nathan hesitated, his mind drifting to Maya's social media post, now viral with hundreds of comments decrying Brewhaven's service. "Reach out to Maya," he said, "the woman who posted online. Invite her to the meeting anonymously. I want her to see we're taking this seriously." Claire's eyebrows rose, but she jotted it down. "Got it. Risky, but it could win." Her over. Nathan's gaze shifted to a competitor's logo on his phone, Urban Grind, a rival chain that had launched a discount campaign capitalizing on Brewhaven's bad press. Posts and social media taunted. "Tired of bad service? Try Urban Grind." The jab stung, but it also sharpened Nathan's focus. Losing customers wasn't the worst risk losing his company's soul was. He thought of his childhood friend, Marcus, whose rejection at a diner had sparked Nathan's dream of a fairer world. Brewhaven was supposed to be that world, and he'd fight to keep it that way. Across town, in the cramped back office of Brewhaven's Seattle store, Lauren Hayes sat hunched over a laptop, her dark hair falling loose from its bun. The fluorescent light buzzed, casting harsh shadows on stacks of receipts and schedules. Nathan's video call had shaken her, his words, "Worse than discrimination in my store," ringing in her ears. She'd known about Brittany's behavior, the complaints piling up, but fear of rocking the boat had paralyzed her. Tara, Brittany's loyal ally, had made it clear. Call out Brittany, and the team would fracture. Lauren couldn't afford that mout with bills piling up and a promotion on the line. But Nathan's call had been a wake-up call. She opened Maya's post, the comments a brutal mirror. "Never going back. Brewhaven doesn't care." Her stomach churned. She'd failed, but maybe she could still fix it. Lauren typed an email to Nathan, her fingers trembling. "I'll support you tomorrow. I should have acted sooner." Let me know how I can help." She hit send, her breath shaky. The thought of facing Brittany and Tara terrified her, but the thought of losing Brewhaven's trust was worse. She glanced at a photo on her desk, her younger brother, a barista at another location, who joined because of her. She owed him a better example. Back at headquarters, Nathan reviewed the plan with Claire. The meeting would start with his experience as an undercover customer, then pivot to the complaints and Maya's testimony, if she attended. Brittany would have a chance to explain, but Nathan doubted she'd sway him. The data was damning dozens of complaints, some mentioning Tara's complicity in Brittany's clique. He needed to address Lauren's role too, but her email, just arrived, gave him hope. "She's stepping up," he told Claire, forwarding the message. "Let's give her a chance to prove it." Claire leaned back, her expression skeptical. "You're trusting a lot of people here. Lauren, Maya, even the staff to handle this public. What if Brittany pushes back? She's got a following." Nathan's eyes hardened. "Let her push. The truth doesn't bend." He stood, pacing to the window, the city sprawling below. Urban Grind's campaign gnawed at him, but so did the faces he'd seen. Maya's hurt, Jaden's silence, Margaret's disapproval. This wasn't just about saving face. It was about saving Brewhaven's soul. At the shop, Jaden Carter cleaned the espresso machine, the rush slowing to a trickle. Margaret lingered at her table, her tea cold, her eyes on Jaden. "You know what's wrong here," she said softly, her voice carrying years of wisdom. Jaden paused, his cloth still in hand. "I know," he said, his voice low. "But speaking up, it's not that simple." Margaret nodded, her gaze steady. "Nothing worth doing ever is." Jaden's jaw tightened, his dreams of a Farrah shop flickering. He didn't know Nathan was coming, but he felt a storm brewing. Nathan turned from the window, his resolve like steel. Tomorrow, he'd walk back into Brewhaven, not as a customer, but as the CEO, ready to confront Brittany, rally Lauren, and face the truth. The complaints, Maya's post, Urban Grind's taunts, they were challenges, but Nathan Brooks had never backed down from a fight. He'd built Brewhaven from nothing, and he'd rebuild it, one truth at a time. The morning sun filtered through the tall windows of Brewhaven's Seattle flagship, casting a warm glow over the polished wooden tables and the neon sign humming above the door. The air buzzed with the rich scent of espresso and the clatter of cups, the breakfast rush in full swing. Customers chatted in line, their voices blending with the hiss of steam wands, but an undercurrent of tension simmered beneath the chaos. Nathan Brooks stepped through the glass doors, no longer the hooded customer, but the CEO, his tailored navy suit sharp, his presence commanding. Behind him, Claire and two executives followed, their briefcases a silent signal that this was no ordinary visit. Today, Nathan would confront Brittany Cole's bias head-on, and nothing would be the same. The shop fell quiet as heads turned, customers pausing mid-sip, baristas slowing their movements. Brittany stood behind the counter, her blonde hair tied back, her green eyes narrowing as she registered Nathan's suit. She leaned toward Tara, a fellow barista with a tight ponytail, whispering something that made Tara smirk. Lauren Hayes emerged from the back office, her dark hair in a messy bun, her face pale with nerves. She'd emailed Nathan her support last night, but the weight of this moment pressed against her chest. Jaden Carter, working the espresso machine, glanced up, his dark eyes curious but guarded. At a corner table, Margaret, the older regular, sipped her tea, her gray curls catching the light, her gaze sharp. Maya, the young woman whose viral post had rocked Brewhaven, stood near the counter, invited anonymously by Claire. Her navy blazer was crisp, her expression a mix of skepticism and hope. Nathan raised a hand, his voice steady but resonant. Can I have everyone's attention, please? The shop stilled, customers stepping back as the staff gathered in the seating area. Brittany leaned against the counter, her arms crossed, her smirk defiant. Tara stood beside her, her posture tense, while Lauren hovered near Jaden, her hands fidgeting. Nathan's eyes scanned the room, landing on Brittany. "My name is Nathan Brooks," he said, his tone firm. "I'm the CEO of Brewhaven." Gasps rippled through the staff, Brittany's smirk faltering, her face paling. Tara's eyes widened, her fingers twitching. Jaden's jaw tightened, a flicker of hope in his gaze. "Last week," Nathan continued, his voice cutting through the silence, "I visited this store undercover. I wanted to see how customers were treated when no one knew I was watching. What I saw was unacceptable." He locked eyes with Brittany, her defiance crumbling under his stare. "I was ignored, dismissed, lied to about a drink order. But it wasn't just me. I saw customers treated differently based on their appearance. Customers like her." He gestured to Maya, who straightened, her presence a quiet challenge. Murmurs spread, customers craning to see. A man in a corner eyeing. A local reporter scribbling notes thought Brittany shifted, her voice sharp but unsteady. "I didn't know it was you," she stammered, her hands clenching. "I was just busy." Nathan raised a hand, silencing her. "It doesn't matter who I am," he said, his words like steel. "Every customer deserves respect, not just the ones you think are important." He turned to the staff, his gaze sweeping over them. "This store has a problem. Complaints about rude service, about unfair treatment have piled up. Many point to you, Brittany." Maya stepped forward, her voice clear despite her nerves. "I posted online because I was treated like I didn't belong," she said, her eyes on Brittany. "I ordered a cappuccino, and you shoved it at me, barely looking. It wasn't just rude, it hurt." The room was silent, the weight of her words sinking in. Margaret, from her table, spoke up, her voice steady. "I've seen it too," she sighed. "She's kind to some, cold to others. It's not right." Jaden nodded slightly, his silence speaking volumes. Brittany's face flushed, her voice rising. "This is ridiculous. I'm good at my job. Tell them, Tara." Tara hesitated, her eyes darting to Lauren, then Nathan. "She's under pressure," Tara muttered, her defense weak. Lauren stepped forward, her voice trembling but firm. "It's not just pressure," she said, meeting Brittany's glare. "I should have stopped this sooner. You've been selective with customers, and I let it slide. That's on me." Nathan nodded, his expression unreadable. "Thank you, Lauren." He turned back to Brittany, his voice calm but final. "The complaints, Maya's experience, what I saw, it's a pattern. Brewhaven was built on equality. Your actions don't belong here." Brittany's eyes widened, her voice a hiss. "You can't do this." Nathan's gaze didn't waver. "I can. And I will." The reporter, Ryan, jotted furiously. The camera Claire had set up capturing every word. Customers murmured, some nodding, others filming on their phones. The air crackled with the weight of truth exposed. Jaden's hands stilled on the counter, his dreams of a fairer shop suddenly within reach. Margaret's lips curved into a faint smile, her faith in Brewhaven restored. Maya stood taller, her hurt easing as her voice was heard. Lauren's shoulders squared, her fear giving way to resolve. Nathan turned to the staff, his voice rising. "This isn't the end. It's a beginning. We're going to fix this together." His eyes flicked to Brittany, a silent challenge. She glared back, her defiance a dying ember. The shop was a crucible, and Nathan Brooks had just lit the flame. Tomorrow, he'd deliver justice, but tonight, he'd let the truth sink in. Brewhaven wasn't just a business. It was a promise, and he'd fight to keep it. The air inside Brewhaven's Seattle flagship crackled with tension. The morning rush paused as Nathan Brooks stood before the gathered staff, his navy suit a stark contrast to the casual bustle of the coffee shop. The rich scent of espresso lingered, but the clatter of cups and hiss of steam wands had faded, replaced by a heavy silence. Customers lingered at tables, their phones raised to capture the unfolding drama, while Ryan, the local reporter, scribbled furiously in his notebook. Brittany Cole stood behind the counter, her blonde hair loose, her green eyes wide with panic as Nathan's words echoed, "Your actions don't belong here." Lauren Hayes, the manager, stood nearby, her face pale but resolute, her decision to speak out against Brittany marking a turning point. Maya, the customer whose viral post had sparked this reckoning, watched with quiet strength, her testimony still ringing in the room. Nathan's gaze locked onto Brittany, his voice calm but unyielding. Brewhaven was built on equality, he said, his words carrying the weight of a promise. Every customer, every employee deserves respect. Your behavior ignoring customers, treating them differently based on appearance breaks the promise. He gestured to a folder Claire held, filled with complaints. Dozens of reports, many naming you Brittany. Maya's experience, Margaret's observations, my own last week. It's a pattern, and it ends now. Brittany's face flushed, her hands clenching into fists. This is unfair. She snapped, her voice shrill. I was busy, stressed. You can't fire me over a few complaints. She turned to Tara, her ally, her eyes pleading. Tell him I'm good at my job. Tara shifted uncomfortably, her ponytail swinging as she avoided Nathan's gaze. She's popular, Tara mumbled, her voice faltering. Customers like her. The weak defense hung in the air, unconvincing. Lauren stepped forward, her voice steadier now. Not all customers, she said, meeting Brittany's glare. I should have acted sooner, but I won't stay silent anymore. Nathan nodded, acknowledging Lauren's courage. He turned back to Brittany, his tone final. You had every chance to treat people fairly. You chose not to. Effective immediately, you're no longer employed at Brewhaven. The words landed like a gavel, the room exhaling as Brittany gasped, her defiance crumbling. You'll regret this, she spat, her voice trembling with rage. I'll sue you. I'll ruin this place. She grabbed her bag, storming toward the back, but Nathan's voice stopped her. Leave your key, he said, his calm authority unshaken. Brittany froze, then yanked the key from her pocket, tossing it onto the counter with a clatter. The glass doors slammed behind her, the sound echoing like a final note. The staff stood stunned, some exchanging glances, others staring at the floor. Jaden Carter, at the espresso machine, let out a quiet breath, his shoulders relaxing for the first time in months. Margaret, at her corner table, nodded approvingly, her tea forgotten. Maya's lips curved into a faint smile, her faith in Brewhaven cautiously restored. Ryan's pen paused, his eyes flicking to Nathan, sensing a story that would dominate tomorrow's headlines. Customers murmured, some applauding softly, their videos already spreading online. Nathan turned to the staff, his voice softening but firm. This isn't just about one person, he said. It's about who we are. Brewhaven is a place where everyone belongs, and we've lost sight of that. Starting today, we're fixing it. He looked at Lauren, her hands clasped tightly. Lauren, you let this go too long, but you stepped up today. I'm giving you a chance to lead the right way. You'll get training on management and accountability, and I expect results. Lauren nodded, relief and determination in her eyes. I won't let you down, she said, her voice steady. Nathan's gaze swept the room. To the rest of you, know this. Discrimination, rudeness, favoritism, they have no place here. We're implementing mandatory diversity and inclusion training across every Brewhaven location, starting next week. We'll learn to treat every customer, every colleague, with respect. This isn't a punishment. It's a commitment. The staff nodded, some with conviction, others with hesitation. Tara's face was unreadable, her loyalty to Brittany a chorus. Lingering question. Jaden's eyes shone with quiet hope. His dreams of a fairer shop suddenly tangible. Claire stepped forward, handing Nathan a tablet. "We're also reviewing all complaints," he said, glancing at the screen. "If anyone else has contributed to this culture, we'll find out." His eyes flicked to Tara, a subtle warning. She swallowed, her fingers twitching. Nathan turned. To Maya, his tone sincere. "Thank you for speaking up. Your voice made a difference." Maya nodded, her expression softening. "Just make it right," she said, her words a challenge and a plea. As the staff dispersed, customers returned to their orders, the shop slowly regaining its rhythm. Lauren approached Jaden, her voice low. "I need your help to rebuild this team," she said. Jaden hesitated, then nodded. "I'm in." He sighed, his voice firm. Margaret caught his eye, her smile warm. "Told you it was worth doing," she said, her words a quiet victory. Outside, Nathan stood with Claire, the city's pulse around them. Ryan approached, his notebook tucked away. "That was bold," he said. "This story's going viral. You ready for the fallout?" Nathan's lips curved into a determined smile. "Let it spread. The truth's out now." As he walked away, the neon sign glowed behind him, a beacon of a promise renewed. Brittany was gone, but the work was just beginning. Nathan Brooks had drawn a line, and he'd hold it, no matter what came next. The Seattle sun dipped low, casting a golden glow through the tall windows of Brewhaven's flagship store, the neon sign flickering to life against the twilight. The air hummed with the familiar scent of roasted coffee and the soft clink of cups, the evening rush a steady rhythm of orders and chatter. But beneath the bustle, a new energy pulsed, hopeful, fragile, like the first green shoots after a storm. Nathan Brooks stood near the counter, his navy suit replaced by a casual sweater, his sharp eyes scanning the staff as they moved with purpose. Brittany Cole's firing had been a seismic shift, a line drawn in the sand. Now, the real work began, rebuilding Brewhaven into the place Nathan had always envisioned, where every customer and employee felt they belonged. The confrontation had left the staff shaken but galvanized. Lauren Hayes, the manager, stood at the register, her dark hair tied back, her posture straighter than before. Her decision to speak out against Brittany had cost her the loyalty of Tara and a few others, but it had earned her Nathan's trust and her own. She greeted customers with a warmth that hadn't been there before, her voice steady as she called out orders. Jaden Carter, at the espresso machine, worked with quiet efficiency, his dark eyes brighter, as if a weight had lifted. Margaret, the regular with gray curls, sipped her tea at her corner table, her smile warm as she watched the shop come alive. Even customers sensed the shift, their conversations lighter, their tips more generous. Nathan had launched the diversity and inclusion training program immediately, with the Seattle store as the pilot. Today was the first session, held in a cordoned-off section of the dining area after hours. The tables were arranged in a circle, a facilitator from HR leading the discussion. Nathan sat among the staff, not as the CEO, but as a participant, his presence a quiet signal that this was everyone's responsibility. Lauren opened the session, her voice nervous but clear. "We've let some people down," she said, her eyes sweeping the group. "Customers, each other. This is our chance to do better." The staff nodded, some with conviction, others with caution. Tara sat with her arms crossed, her tight ponytail swinging as she avoided Lauren's gaze. Jaden spoke up, his voice steady but raw. "I've been here a year," he said, his hands clasped tightly. "I've seen customers treated differently because of how they look. It's not just Brittany. It's a vibe we let happen. I felt it too, as a black barista. Like I had to prove I belonged. The room fell silent, the weight of his words sinking in. A newer hire, Emily, nodded, her voice soft. I saw it but didn't know how to call it out, she admitted. The facilitator guided the discussion, asking staff to share ideas for change-better complaint systems, team check-ins, customer feedback boards. Nathan listened, pride flickering in his chest. This was the Brewhaven he dreamed of, starting to take shape. Outside, the city buzzed, but the shop's transformation was making waves. Maya's viral post had evolved, with new comments praising Brewhaven's response. Heard they fired the rude barista. I'm giving them another shot. Customers returned, some drawn by curiosity, others by the promise of a better experience. A woman in a green scarf, a local activist named Sarah, posted a glowing review. Brewhaven stepping up. Felt welcome today. The post spread, countering Urban Grind's discount campaign, which was faltering as Brewhaven's reputation rebounded. Nathan monitored the social media surge from his phone, relief tempered by vigilance. Brittany's threat to sue lingered, and Tara's silence was a question mark. Lauren, emboldened by the training, took charge. She implemented a new tip-sharing system, ensuring fairness, and posted a public apology on the store's social media. Drafted with Nathan's input. We failed some of you, and we're sorry. We're listening, learning, and changing. The post drew likes and supportive comments, but also a bitter reply from an anonymous account likely Brittany. This place is a joke now. Good luck. Lauren showed it to Nathan, her jaw tight. She's still out there, she said, her voice low. Nathan's eyes narrowed. Let her talk. We're building something stronger. He meant it, but the threat gnawed at him. Brittany's influence wasn't gone, not yet done at the counter. Jaden served a customer, his smile genuine. The man, a regular who'd once complained about Brittany, slipped an extra $1 into the tip jar. Keep it up, kid, he said, his voice gruff but kind. Jaden nodded, his dreams of owning a shop one day feeling closer. Margaret caught his eye, her tea steaming in her hands. You're the heart of this place, she said, her words a quiet anchor. Jaden's chest swelled, his resolve hardening. He'd stay, fight for this shop, for what it could be. Nathan joined Lauren after the training, the shop quiet now, the neon sign glowing outside. You did well today, he said, his tone warm. Lauren exhaled, her hands fidgeting. I was scared, she admitted. But I want this to work for the team, for customers like Maya. Nathan nodded, his gaze steady. You're not alone. Keep leading. He stepped outside, the cool air brushing his skin. The city's lights twinkled, a reminder of the world beyond Brewhaven. Urban grinds. Taunts, Brittany's threats, they were noise, not substance. The shop was changing, and Nathan would see it through dawn as he walked to his car. His phone buzzed a text from Claire. Social media is turning in our favor. Training's a hit. Next steps? Nathan's lips curved into a determined smile. Keep it going. We're not done yet. Brewhaven was his corner of the world, and he'd make it right, one step at a time. The Seattle dawn painted the sky in hues of pink and gold, the neon sign of Brewhaven glowing softly against the morning mist. Inside, the shop hummed with the familiar rhythm of a breakfast rush, the rich aroma of espresso, the clink of cups, the murmur of customers weaving through the air. But the energy was different now, lighter, as if the weight of Brittany Cole's bias had lifted, leaving room for something new. Nathan Brooks stood near the counter, his casual sweater a contrast to the CEO suit he'd worn days ago, his sharp eyes tracking the staff's movements. The diversity training had taken root. Lauren Hayes was stepping into her role with confidence, and customers were returning in droves. Yet, Nathan knew the fight wasn't over Brittany's threat to sue, and the shadow of Urban Grind's competition lingered, testing Brewhaven's newfound strength. The confrontation had gone viral, fueled by Ryan's article in the Seattle Times and customer videos from the meeting. Headlines praised Nathan's decisive action. Brewhaven's CEO fires barista for discrimination, vows change. Social media buzzed with support. Maya's original post now buried under waves of praise. Finally, a company that listens. And Brewhaven's my new go-to. Sarah, the activist in the green scarf, amplified the story, her posts drawing thousands of likes. This is what accountability looks like. The shop's revenue spiked, new faces mixing with regulars like Margaret, who sipped her tea at her corner table, her gray curls catching the light. "You've done wonders," she told Lauren, her voice warm. Lauren smiled, her dark hair tied neatly, her confidence growing with each passing day. Nathan's phone buzzed with a text from Claire. "TV interview request from Channel 5. You in?" He hesitated, the weight of public scrutiny pressing against him. Brewhaven's turnaround was a triumph, but the spotlight was a double-edged sword. Urban Grind had doubled down, launching ads that jabbed at Brewhaven's PR stunt, offering free drinks to lure customers. Nathan's jaw tightened. He'd built Brewhaven on principle, not gimmicks, but the competition stung. He typed back, "Set it up. Let's tell our story." The interview was a chance to share his vision, to show the world what Brewhaven stood for. He thought of his childhood friend Marcus, whose rejection had sparked this journey. This wasn't just about coffee. It was about proving fairness could win. At the counter, Jaden Carter served a customer with a genuine smile, his dark eyes bright. The man, a regular who'd once complained about Brittany, tipped generously. "This place feels right now," he said, his voice gruff. Jaden nodded, his dreams of owning a shop one day burning brighter. Lauren approached, her voice low. "You're doing great, Jaden. I'm scheduling you for lead barista next week." Jaden's eyes widened, pride swelling in his chest. "Thanks," he said, his voice steady. Nearby, a new hire, Sophia, worked the register with nervous energy, her first week a testament to Brewhaven's fresh start. Hired after the viral story drew job applicants, Sophia was eager to prove herself. Her presence, a quiet symbol of renewal. The interview took place that afternoon in the shop, the camera crew setting up near a window overlooking the bustling street. The reporter, a sharp-eyed woman named Lisa, sat across from Nathan, her questions direct. "Your undercover visit made headlines," she said, her tone probing. "Why risk it?" Nathan leaned forward, his voice calm but passionate. "I grew up seeing people judged for how they looked," he said, his eyes steady. "I built Brewhaven to be different, a place where everyone belongs. When I saw that promise breaking, I had to act." Lisa nodded, jotting notes. "Some say it's a PR move." "Your response?" Nathan's lips curved into a determined smile. "This isn't about PR. It's about people. Maya, who spoke up. Lauren, who's stepping up. Customers, who deserve better. That's what drives us." The interview aired that evening, clips spreading online, amplifying Brewhaven's story. Customers returned, some who'd left after Brittany's behavior, their faces bright with cautious trust. A woman in a red coat, who'd once complained about Brittany, ordered a latte and smiled. "You fixed it," she told Lauren, her voice soft. Lauren's chest swelled, her fear of failure easing. But not all echoes were kind. Brittany's anonymous account posted again. "Brewhaven's a circus. They'll crash soon." The comment drew a few likes, likely from Tara and others loyal to Brittany, but the overwhelming response was support for Nathan. Lauren showed the post to Nathan, her jaw tight. "She's still trying," she said. Nathan's eyes narrowed. She's noise, not substance. Keep focusing on the team. Tara, working the drink station, overheard, her tight ponytail swinging as she poured a latte. Her silence since Brittany's exit was deafening, her loyalty a question Nathan hadn't answered. He watched her, noting her quick glances at Lauren. Her hesitation when Jaden spoke. Tara wasn't Brittany, but she wasn't an ally not yet. Nathan made a mental note to address her in the next training session. To see if she could be reached. As the rush slowed, Margaret approached Jaden, her tea steaming. "You're the future of this place," she said, her eyes twinkling. Jaden smiled, his resolve firm. "I'm trying," he said, his voice low but strong. Outside, Nathan stood under the neon sign, the city's pulse around him. The interview. The returning customers Sophia's hiring, they were proof that change was real. Urban Grind's taunts faded, their free drinks no match for Brewhaven's heart. Nathan's phone buzzed Claire again. Interviews a hit. Social media's exploding. Next, Nathan's smile widened. Training rollout. Nationwide. Brewhaven was rising, and he'd carry it forward, one cup at a time. The Seattle evening draped Brewhaven in a soft glow, the neon sign casting a warm light across the sidewalk, its hum a steady pulse in the cooling air. Inside, the shop buzzed with the gentle rhythm of a late rush customers chatting over steaming lattes, the rich scent of coffee mingling with the faint sweetness of caramel syrup. The clatter of cups and the hiss of steam wands filled the space, but the atmosphere was warm, alive with a sense of community that hadn't existed weeks ago. Nathan Brooks stood near the counter, his casual sweater a quiet contrast to the CEO, who confronted Brittany Cole. His sharp eyes followed Jaden Carter, the young barista whose quiet strength had become a cornerstone of the shop's renewal. Today, Nathan wasn't here to lead. He was here to listen, to guide, to pass on what he'd learned. The transformation of Brewhaven's Seattle flagship was undeniable. Customers returned in droves, drawn by viral stories of Nathan's stand against discrimination and the shop's new warmth. Margaret, the regular with gray curls, sat at her corner table, her tea steaming as she chatted with a new customer, her pride in the shop evident. Lauren Hayes, now a confident manager, moved through the rush with ease, her dark hair tied neatly, her voice clear as she coached Sophia, the new hire. The diversity training had taken root, fostering teamwork and respect, and the shop's revenue reflected it, outpacing Urban Grind's faltering campaign. Brittany's bitter social media posts had faded, drowned out by praise, but Nathan remained vigilant, knowing change was fragile. Jaden, at the espresso machine, served the customer with a bright smile, his dark eyes shining with purpose. Promoted to lead barista, he'd stepped into the role with a quiet determination that caught Nathan's attention. As the rush slowed, Nathan approached, leaning against the counter. "Jaden," he said, his tone warm, "you've been carrying this place. Got a minute to talk?" Jaden wiped his hands on his apron, his expression a mix of surprise and pride. "Sure, Mr. Brooks," he said, following Nathan to a quiet table near the window. They sat, the city's lights twinkling outside. Nathan's voice was steady, earnest. "You remind me of me at your age," he said, his eyes meeting Jaden's. "I started Brewhaven because I saw people treated unfairly, like they didn't belong. You've seen it too, haven't you?" Jaden nodded, his hands clasped tightly. "Yeah," he said, his voice low. "Growing up, I got looks, comments, just for being black. Here, with Brittany, it was like that again. But you changed it." Nathan's lips curved into a small smile. "You changed it too. Speaking up in training, leading by example. That's what makes a difference." Jaden hesitated, then spoke, his voice raw. "I want to do more," he said. "I've got this dream to open my own shop someday, like Brewhaven, where everyone's welcome." but it's hard to know where to start. Nathan leaned forward, his eyes alight. Start where you are, he said. Learn the business, watch Lauren, ask questions. You've got the heart for it. I'll help you mentorship, resources, whatever you need. Jaden's chest swelled, his dreams suddenly tangible. Thank you, he said, his voice thick with emotion. That means everything. Across the shop, Lauren approached Margaret, her confidence tempered by gratitude. You've been here through it all, she said, refilling Margaret's tea. Thank you for sticking with us. Margaret's eyes twinkled. You're the one who stepped up, she said. I told my friend, a teacher, about this place. She's using your story in her class, says it's a lesson in courage. Lauren's throat tightened, the words landing deep. She glanced at Nathan and Jaden, her resolve strengthening. She'd failed before, but now she was leading, and she wouldn't stop. Nathan's phone buzzed a text from Claire. Lauren's ready for a regional role. Training's a hit nationwide. Thoughts? Nathan smiled, typing back. Promote her. She's earned it. Lauren's journey from hesitation to leadership mirrored Brewhaven's own, a testament to second chances. He thought of Maya, whose testimony had sparked change. She'd emailed him yesterday, a simple note. Thank you for listening. I'm back. Nathan had printed it, tucking it into his desk as a reminder of why he fought. The shop quieted, customers trickling out. Sophia, the new hire, cleaned the register, her nerves easing with each shift. Hired after the viral story drew applicants, she was a quiet symbol of Brewhaven's fresh start. Tara, still working the drink station, was quieter now, her tight ponytail swinging as she avoided Lauren's gaze. Nathan watched her, noting her effort but sensing her struggle. She wasn't Brittany, but her loyalty lingered, a challenge for another day. Jaden returned to the counter, his step lighter. Margaret caught his eye, her smile warm. You're going places, she said, her voice soft but certain. Jaden nodded, his dreams burning brighter. I'm trying, he said, his voice firm. Outside, Nathan stood under the neon sign, the city's pulse around him. The shop was more than a business now. It was a beacon, proof that fairness could triumph. Urban Grind's taunts were irrelevant. Brewhaven's heart was winning. His. Phone buzzed again. Claire Maya's email went viral too. Customers sharing their stories. Next move? Nathan's smile widened. Keep the training going. Let's inspire more. He thought of his friend Marcus, whose pain had sparked this journey. Jaden was the future, Lauren the present, and Brewhaven the legacy. Nathan Brooks had fixed his corner of the world, and he'd keep pushing, one dream at a time. A Seattle night wrapped Brewhaven in a quiet embrace, the neon sign glowing like a beacon against the starry sky, its hum a soft heartbeat in the cool air. Inside, the shop was still, the last customers gone, the counters gleaming under dim lights. The rich scent of coffee lingered, a reminder of the day's bustle, but the silence held a different weight triumph, hard-won and deeply felt. Nathan Brooks stood in the center of the dining area, his casual sweater a far cry from the CEO who'd walked in weeks ago to confront a broken culture. His sharp eyes traced the space, from the polished tables to the espresso machine, where Jaden Carter had found his voice, to the corner where Margaret's teacups still sat. Brewhaven wasn't just a coffee shop anymore. It was a testament to what courage and conviction could build. The transformation was complete, yet it felt like a beginning. The Seattle flagship had become a model for the chain, its revenue soaring. Past Urban Grind's fading campaigns, its reputation cemented by viral stories of Nathan's stand against Brittany Cole's bias. Customers returned, their trust restored, their smiles a daily affirmation. Lauren Hayes, now promoted to regional manager, oversaw training across multiple stores, her once hesitant leadership now a steady force. Jaden, the lead barista, was Enrolled in a business course Nathan had funded, his dream of owning a shop taking shape. Even Tara, once Brittany's ally, had begun to engage, her tight ponytail less a shield as she joined team discussions. The diversity training was now nationwide, a cornerstone of Brewhaven's identity. Praised by industry leaders and customers alike, Nathan's impact rippled beyond Seattle. At a national coffee industry conference, he stood before a packed auditorium, his voice steady as he shared Brewhaven's story. "We failed some of our customers," he said, his eyes sweeping the crowd of CEOs and managers. "But we listened, acted, and changed. Fairness isn't a slogan, it's a commitment." The room erupted in applause. Competitors like Urban Grind taking notes, their own practices under scrutiny. A young entrepreneur approached Nathan afterward, her eyes bright. "Your story inspired me to audit my shops," she said. Nathan smiled, thinking of his friend Marcus, whose pain had sparked this journey. "Start small," he told her, "but start." Back at Brewhaven, the shop thrived. Sophia, the new hire, now worked the register with confidence, her laughter a bright note in the rush. Margaret, ever the regular, brought her book club, their chatter filling a corner booth, their tips generous. Maya, whose viral post had ignited change, returned weekly, her navy blazer a familiar sight. She'd sent Nathan another email. "You kept your promise. Thank you." He kept it pinned to his office board, a reminder of the stakes. Brittany's threats had fizzled. Her lawsuit never materialized, her bitter posts ignored. Tara, once torn, had confided in Lauren about Brittany's pressure, her honesty a step toward redemption. One evening, Nathan visited the shop, finding Jaden closing up, his apron folded neatly. "Mr. Brooks," Jaden said, his dark eyes warm. "Didn't expect you." Nathan leaned against the counter, his tone casual but sincere. "Just checking on my favorite barista. How's the course?" Jaden's smile widened. "Tough, but I'm learning. I want my shop to feel like this one fair real." Nathan nodded, pride swelling. "You'll get there. Keep pushing." Jaden paused, then added, "You made me believe I could." The words landed deep, a quiet victory for Nathan's mission. Lauren joined them, her regional badge pinned proudly. "We're rolling out feedback boards in all stores," she said, her voice confident. "Customers love them." Nathan's eyes twinkled. "You're running circles around me now," he said, drawing a laugh. Outside, Margaret waved through the window, her teacup raised in a toast. The shop was a community, its heart beating strong. Nathan stepped outside, the neon sign glowing above. The city's lights stretched before him, a canvas of possibility. He thought of Marcus, of Maya, of every customer who'd felt unseen. Brewhaven was his corner of the world, and he'd fixed it not perfectly, but enough to matter. His phone buzzed Claire, conference speech trending, industries buzzing. What's next? Nathan's smile was resolute. Keep building. He'd started with a dream, and now it was a legacy, one cup, one truth at a time. Nathan Brooks' story is a powerful ode to the human spirit, a reminder that integrity, courage, and community can transform even the darkest corners. At its core, it champions humanistic values, the belief that every person deserves respect. That leadership thrives on accountability, and that change begins with a single brave act. Nathan's journey from an undercover customer to a catalyst for industry-wide reform shows that fairness isn't just an ideal. It's a fight worth waging. His stand against Brittany's bias, his support for Lauren's redemption, and his mentorship of Jaden reflect a commitment to lifting others, proving that true power lies in creating spaces where everyone belongs. The lessons are timeless. First, integrity demands action. Nathan's refusal to ignore injustice set change in motion. Second, leadership is about empowering others. By trusting Lauren and Jaden, he built a stronger team. Third, Every voice matters. Maya's post. Margaret's wisdom. Jaden's courage all shaped Brewhaven's rebirth. Finally, change is a journey, not a moment. Nathan's work continues, a call to keep fighting for what's right. This story asks, what would you do when faced with unfairness? Share your thoughts below. Have you ever stood up for justice, big or small? Your story could light the way for someone else. If Nathan's journey inspired you, join us at Legacy. Stories for more tales of courage, justice, and transformation. Subscribe to our channel, hit the notification bell, and be part of a community celebrating the legacies that make us human. Thank you for reading, and we'll see you in the next story.